All right. Welcome to week 3. We're halfway done. Yay. Okay, so let's start as we always do with some wins. Um, I'm going to start with one. Marianne, many of you hopefully saw this in the chat. She just posted not too long ago in the WhatsApp group. But I wanted to share this kind of on her behalf and also as an example. She shared as a quote unquote small win. I think all wins are big, but I know what people mean. I oftentimes, I mean, we all kind of categorize them as like little things and big things, but she shared as a small win that her balance is better. And she said, I seem to be able to balance on one leg for longer than I used to be able to. Um, I
Wow.
think it's amazing. And Marianne is not old, but the older you get, the more important, seriously, things like that become. Um, and so what I wanted to do is I wanted to share this partly just as an example of what a small win could be. Because sometimes we see this stuff and we kind of dismiss it. Like we think the only wins are like weight loss and healing cancer. Not that those are even in the same boat, but I think things like this are great examples. So as I'm sharing that, as you're reading these kinds of wins or hearing about these kinds of wins, be thinking in your own life like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm not having to reach for the third cup of coffee, or I'm have more energy, or some of these little subtle things. Like usually if you go to read something and you have to read it 6 times because you're like brain fog, monkey brain, all over the place. And now you can read it once and you're clear. That's a huge win. So be aware of that. The other just quick thing I wanted to share that I think can be really powerful is create some tests for yourself to track progress. Um, Preferably besides just weight loss. I talked about this a little bit last week, and some of you have heard me talk about this before. Fat loss is more important than weight loss. If you tell me you lose 10 pounds, but you lost 10 pounds of lean muscle, major hit in the wrong direction. I would rather have you not lose weight than the scale go down 10 pounds and I know it's from lean muscle tissue, right? That means your metabolism just tanked. Your longevity just went down. Like, so we want to be losing fat. There are lots of ways to test your body fat, some more accurate than others. But a lot of, so weight is not the best metric. Body fat, much better. But even beyond those things, I I think it's great to have one or two or three other ways that you track your progress that aren't just weight related, fat related. So I would actually tell you, Marianne, when you listen to this recording, time it. Time your right leg, time your left leg, and start doing that once a week or every couple weeks. Because then you know for sure. So for all of you guys, pick an area that you want to improve and figure out some way to test yourself. This could be how long you can hold a plank, how many push-ups you can do, how many days in a row you don't get elbowed by your partner for snoring, how how many seconds you can hold a dead hang. So a dead hang is like hanging from the monkey bars as long as you can. A lot of gyms have a place you can do this like on pull-up bars, but you can literally go to your local park and just hang your whole body weight, time it. This has actually been found as a really good test of longevity as well. Grip strength is essentially what's being tested there. So it sounds crazy. You're like, so you just hang there? I'm like, yeah, go do it. See how long, like, it's not easy. But that's another one that you want those numbers to be going up. So see, the first time you do it, maybe you can hold it for 10 seconds. Maybe it's 30 seconds. Just keep working on that. Um, so there's lots of tests you can do. Another one, how many, if for those of you who struggle with constipation, or any kind of irregular loose or constipation, any kind of irregular bowel movements, the goal is LBS, long, brown, and smooth. How many days in a row can you have at least one LBS, bowel movement? These are not the sexy tests, but these are signs of health. Like, so if we want to be real, let's start being more aware of these wins by tracking some of this stuff. So you could for sure do, measurements. This is another one. And this tends to be a little bit closer tied to body fat. If you're losing body fat, typically, the waist might get a little bit smaller, or, of course, for those of you who lift weights, which is hopefully all of you in some form, for sure you could do your 1 rep max on a bench press or any other lift. So those are some ideas, but start thinking about like just some ways you can track your progress so that you have some more wins in your tool belt besides just being like addicted to the scale. Because we've all had this where we're doing everything right and everything's working and going in the right direction, and then we're still doing everything right and all of a sudden we're at a plateau. Well, during those plateaus, I had this myself a few months ago where it was like everything seemed to be kind of stagnant, but because I was tracking my weightlifting very carefully, I was seeing that I was getting stronger because my weights, meaning the weight that I could lift, was going up on almost everything. Okay, well, now I don't feel so bad if my body fat's not going down or whatever. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Anybody need ideas for ways they can do this? Thank you, Marianne, for sharing that though, because I love that. I love the example, but it did just give me that reminder of like, oh yeah, we need to make sure that we have some little tests we can do. Okay, so let's share some wins. Who's up first? Hit it.
Hello.
Let's hear it, Jen.
Okay. So I think I have a couple little ones. So I'm still not drinking coffee, but I'm also finding that. So one day I tested myself. I was like, okay, I was like, you know what? I want a coffee. Like I'm gonna have a coffee. I literally took one sip of coffee and I was like, no, I don't want this. And I dumped it out. So for me,
Woo!
that's huge.
That's huge. That's a big one. Yes, I love it.
Yes. And then I feel like I don't have like the belly bloat, even though I just had a little, I don't have that. And definitely more regular. And I'd say like 2 times a day versus once. I was always one, but now it's like two. So I felt like that was better.
Huge.
Boys, close your ears for 2 seconds. But so I'm 49 and my periods have definitely changed.
Mhm.
But last week I had like a real period. Like not like this spotting stuff. I'm so sorry, guys. Pretend you're not like you're in another world.
It's good. They can handle it.
But I was like, oh, like, is that part of it? Or I don't know. But it's been a couple of months.
So this is amazing. First of all, the coffee, huge win. And yes, your taste buds change, which is a good thing. And also, as your liver functions better, you're better able to absorb your B vitamins. When you have adequate B6 in particular, coffee starts to taste real bad. So I have helped people come off coffee by making them not like it, which is much better than like white knuckling, like, oh, I have to give up coffee and feeling awful the whole time. So that's awesome. The bloating going down, excellent as well. This is a sign that digestion is picking up, which is great. Your liver is a big part of your digestion. So that's awesome. Um, guys, it's okay. You can hear this too. What Jen's describing is called anti-aging. I mean,
Oh,
I know women complain about periods, but they are a sign of a healthy woman. Now, not that you're unhealthy if you are, of the age where you've gone through menopause.
right.
But I'm saying when you're in that, like, kind of maybe starting to head into that direction, and then you get this, like, nope, they're back. Um,
Right.
I think that's a huge win. So
Oh, okay.
never complain about the period again. That is a great thing. I love
Oh,
it.
okay.
Amazing. Good. All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you for sharing. Good. Who's next?
I'll go. Oh, shoot.
Hold on. I'll just mute mine. Go ahead.
All right, cool. We're in the same room. I been silence your noise coming out of your computer. There we go. I've been plant-based for 12 days now, 12, 11 or 12 days, something like that. And so it's been I think the biggest win for me is we had family in from out of town all last week and just kind of, did vacation-y kinds of things with them when they were out from out of town, and I was still plant-based all week. So that was a big win for me. And so yeah, so that was a huge win. But I think the bigger win though is that this time, I mean, I've tried to do this before, but this time it's been it's been a lot easier. I don't know why, but it's been much more seamless in the decision making.
It's
Story
because
on the way
we
here,
met
I
us.
went to I was at the airport, and I got this muffin that was vegan, and there was no eggs, oil, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have a little treat on the plane on the way here. And they accidentally gave me a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit, which was awesome. Since I couldn't have that anyway, and then I didn't end up having 400 calories of muffins. So Jesus laughs and we suffer, but amen.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, okay, good job. It was actually really funny because he didn't realize it until we were like an hour into the flight. So it wasn't like he got this little meal and went, oh shoot, and went back up and got the replacement. So it was funny because I know because I live with him. Mike's not just doing plant-based, he's doing mostly whole food. And yes, had some treats last week and stuff, but he got the muffin and he's like, well, I wanted something. It was vegan, not whole foods, got some junk oil, but it's fine. At least it's vegan. Okay. But then it was funny because we're sitting there, he opens it up and he's like, this isn't what I ordered. But huge win, really good job, because it wasn't like he got mad, because we get emotional about our food, right? Like, especially when you paid for it, and like it can be very frustrating. And he was just like, oh well, probably shouldn't have had that muffin anyway, and threw it away. And so yeah, I thought that was amazing. So good job. Excellent. Who else?
And I found some, unless some of you are kicking coffee, then don't do this, but I found some sugar-free plant-based creamer this week with coconut oil rather than seed oils in it. And so that was a good win to find something that doesn't have sugar. It's sweetened with xylitol. So not xylitol, sorry, stevia. And so that was a good win. So to find something there. So if I am going to drink coffee, that I at least have a plant-based option. So that's a win.
Yep, good. Yeah, you got to make this stuff work. And, this is why I like to have everybody focus on there's certain things we're all doing together, like drinking the water and taking the detox supplements, skin brushing, things like that. But I like to have everyone pick one thing that works for them. So if drinking one cup of coffee, which I don't think is the end of the world, I would, get organic coffee because coffee's heavily sprayed. Coffee can be really a problem for some people, not necessarily for everybody. But if we're talking about one cup a day, usually coffee isn't as big of a problem as what you put in it. It's kind of like, sometimes you ever like gone to a restaurant and maybe you've done this, or someone you're with pats themselves on the back because they got a salad, but the salad is loaded with like ranch and bacon bits and ham and cheese, and you're like, you probably could have gotten just about anything on the menu you wanted and not had a huge sacrifice there. So yes, you want to like make your, this is something I said a lot last week when we had family over, is just that no matter what you're making, or what you're eating, if you make it yourself at home, it's probably going to be better. I don't care if you're having burgers and fries. If you make them yourself at home, it's almost always going to be better than what you would get out. Um, I don't think eating out is the devil. I think it's fine on occasion, make the best choice you can, but you can make just about anything better at home. So do those little upgrades when you do want something. It's like, okay, if you want something sweet, it's like, okay, what can I do that's sweet? Like somebody posted the date rolls, things like that are such a good option. I mean, dates are super sweet. Date rolls typically have two or three ingredients. And so, finding ways to kind of kill that craving without totally gut bombing yourself. Good, good options. All right. Who else? Another win.
I was gonna say, so a couple last month or so, I had a crown done on my tooth,
Yeah.
and for the longest time, like it was just sensitive to all get out. So room temperature, hot water, cold water, anything that touched it, even air would like send me like a little frenzy of ouch, this doesn't feel good.
Mhm.
But after the first week of doing the detox, I started noticing it not hurting as much, and then it started going away, and it
Mhm.
flared up once in a while, and then finally, like this week, I'm like, okay, cool, I think I'm on the home stretch here. So
Love
that's pretty
it.
nice, finally not
I
being in
love it.
pain. So
I love it. And I'm actually in Portland for a dental thing. So this is deep on my mind right now. But if you guys ever have any tooth issue, whether it's a current active, pain point like what Ken's describing, or even if you're like you have something like you've had done in the past, maybe you have a certain tooth that you had a root canal on or something like that. If you look up the Google, like the dental, what would it be called? Like tooth chart, tooth meridian chart, it'll tell you every tooth in your mouth is associated with different organs and glands. So, when you have an issue with, your reproductive glands, for example, that's associated with the front teeth. I don't have them all memorized because I'm not a dentist, but I know enough to be dangerous. So and it works the other way around too. If you have, let's say you're having trouble with kidney stones. Well, there are usually two teeth in your mouth, at least, that are associated with the kidneys. Is something going on with those teeth? So that's amazing. I love that. And your dental health is so closely tied with your overall health. So I love it. Excellent. Good job. Anybody else? A couple of you haven't heard
I'll
from.
go.
Let's hear it, Jerry.
I'll go. So over the last 3 days, I found that before I was getting tired during the day, and I haven't been tired during the day when I was, started this detox after about, I guess, what about the seventh day? And then I just haven't been tired. Now I'm going to bed earlier.
Mhm.
I go to bed probably 9:30. I get tired around that time, but I also wake up, 5:30. And so that was my win. And then since I was gone the week prior on week one, I decided to go ahead and start cleaning up those 50 items and
Mhm.
went down this huge rabbit hole and just took my office apart. And it seemed like I was at like 1,000 items, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
And so it was like I went down this rabbit hole. I got myself a new chair, got myself a new mat, hung all the pictures. I don't know. It's just, but anyway.
Amazing. And you know what, guys, keep going with that. I've heard like of everyone that's done that, they start out like, oh, seriously, we got to clean out drawers. But by the end, so many people have said that. They're like, well, once I
Yeah.
had this cleaned up, I didn't want that being a mess. And so, but there's something you said that I think is really important. Energy is going up as you're clearing out your space. This is not just busy work. I don't have anything. I mean, like if your house is cleaned out or not, like doesn't really affect me, except I know how it impacts your energy. So I love that. And keep going with that as you can squirrel out little bits of time here and there. I mean, some of these things, like, yes, if you're going to gut your whole house, that's going to take a day or maybe a week or maybe longer. But you can say like, oh, you know what? I know that I don't have to be in, I have an extra hour on, Thursday mornings. Okay, well, Thursday mornings in 1 hour, could you clean out one cabinet in your kitchen? Or, the dark hole that is your bathroom vanity cabinets, or, whatever, the little weird things we keep in there. So I love that. And especially like an office, I think is so important because if you're spending a lot of time in there and it's all cluttered and congested, and, as I've said before, I'm all about cleaning the space, but getting stuff out of the space, either throwing it away or giving it away, donating it, whatever, but getting it out of the house, really powerful. Good job. Keep it up. And by the way, I was talking to someone about this recently. When your energy is low, it impacts everything. It impacts your ability to be present at work with your family. It impacts your, will to make powerful decisions. Because when you're tired, what do you want? You're like, just give me the cheapest, easiest junk I can find. That's not when you're like, I'll cut up a salad. So and the opposite's true as well. When your energy's good, you're like more likely to exercise, more likely to make good choices. You're more present with your family, which adds more joy to your life. And, it's an upward or downward spiral. So increased energy is huge. Love it. Let's hear it.
All right. Several things. I posted a lot of before and after pictures. And I've done a few more, but I thought you guys were probably getting tired of it. And but I found I took things to get rid of or throw away in every space. But more than that, I found things that belong somewhere else. It's like, why do I have this here? It doesn't really belong here. And as the more I get, and then I would go into a space where it belonged, and that space is all messed up. So I cleaned another one. I got rid of a huge tub of cake decorating pans and layers and serving things because I haven't used them in 2 years. I don't have any grandkids that are going to be getting married soon that I would be making a wedding cake for or anything like that. And so it's gone. And that space made room for another mess that's over in a closet under the stairs. And so, it's all that. But then also, the day after our last meeting, so we had been off the liver sauce for a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday, oh my gosh, I was eliminating lots every time I went to the bathroom. Like I'm talking about 8 times probably.
Wow.
And it was like, oh, I think something big is happening to my body. And I think my liver has got to be happy. And my kidneys were bothering me a little bit. And I remembered you saying the liver releases some of it into the kidneys, I think.
Yep.
And so I castor oil packed that. And so then I was peeing all the time, even more. And it was a lot. But I also found, in the afternoon, several days, I'm just tanked.
Mm.
But I think for me, it's a good thing because I think it's something major is totally shifting in my whole body.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this is the second time I've done it. So I just think it's gone into a deeper layer of the onion,
Mm-hmm.
as they say. And so I've taken a couple naps. Because I'm just, my energy level that I always have has kind of gone down. But I have been very strict, unlike before, unlike Mike. The plant-based was mostly what I was doing and mostly whole food, but because I fixed my husband the standard American diet, I would have a bite of this here and there. And it seemed innocent, but when I realized, okay, I'm going to be strong, I'm going to be intentional, and I'm not going to do any of that, I realized how often I went to grab for something that wasn't a part of that program.
Mm-hmm.
And so we deceive ourselves sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it's just a little bite.
Yeah, it adds up. Yeah.
So,
Okay, this is awesome. I want to speak specifically to a couple of things. When you have a day or 2 or 3 where you're just tanked, don't drive your body. Don't beat a dead horse, right? Work with it. So you did the exact right thing. Rest. Because here's the thing. You have this capacity for energy and healing in your body, and it's a great amount. Like your body's really incredibly made. But if it's saying to you, slow down. We want to focus all of our energy, for example, on healing or detoxing or dumping toxins, whatever. You don't want to like, nope, I just got to get through this. I'm going to do my workout anyway. I'm going to do
Yeah.
whatever the case might be. You want to do just the opposite, right? So this would be a good time, maybe go for a walk, maybe do some stretching. Don't run a marathon that day or those
Yeah.
days. Make sure you're really good with your water. When you're eliminating a lot more for
Yeah.
any reason, it's because your body needs to. So, like we always say, the solution to pollution is dilution. You want to like flush it out. Make sure you're doing the skin brushing and the tongue scraping. This is also a great time for those of you who have access to such things of getting in the sauna or doing coffee enemas or colonics. I know that's another story. So if I just lost some of you, just hang with me. Castor oil packs are great, super easy, very user friendly, kind of messy, but not difficult. But anything you can do to support the body. Now, the example I always give with this is like, if most in traditional medicine, when you have a fever, what do? They give you like a Tylenol or something like that to reduce the fever. Well, you just activate your immune system was activated for a reason, and you just kicked it down. And you said, no, bad immune system, don't heat me up so we can kill the pathogen. And so your poor little immune system's like, hello, I thought that's why I was here. We want to do just the opposite. If I have a fever, what I do is I will get my sauna, and it's not comfortable to get into 170-degree sauna when you have a fever. But I will take a sweat bath. In other words, put the water as hot as you can stand it and stay in for 20, 30 minutes. You're like also not comfortable. You're sweating. I haven't done this. I haven't had a fever in a long time, but I used to like take cayenne capsules, heat the body up internally, like crank up the fire. Okay, pathogen, it's on, right? Rather than squashing, kind of scolding, smacking the hand of the immune system and saying, shut it down. So I use that example with what you're talking about is like, when you're going through a detox and your body's feeling tired, it's because you're breaking through a wall that you haven't broken through before. And it might be deep. Now of course, be smart. If you have 105 fever, or you have heart palpitations, or there's something, frightening, this is not to take the place of emergency care, but for what most of you guys are describing, things like fatigue, headaches, weird elimination, more or less, whatever, work with the body on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that happened to me this week, you know me well enough to know I almost never feel hungry. And it's not because I eat all the time, but before, when I was working, I would drink my meals for a bit because I cleaned homes. And so I was in and out and busy and not in a situation where I wanted to sit down and eat. And so I have not recognized hunger for a long time. And now that I'm doing this and I'm doing the 14, 15 hours of fasting, when 11, 12 o'clock comes, I am hungry. And my body is telling me I'm hungry, and it doesn't want just anything I can grab. I'm wanting protein.
Yep.
So I was just excited to feel my own body hungry.
So good. That again, this is another this is a sign of health. And
It's
we
crazy.
learned to shut these signals off. And I'm gonna just digress for a second, but it starts like this. Mommy, I'm hungry. Nope, it's not time. It's not noon. You don't need to eat yet. Well, your body's saying you're hungry. You were just told that we're gonna eat by the clock. This happens to us as children, right? And please, for the parents, I'm not beating up on you, because I get there is a time where you're like, I know sometimes your kids are like, yo, just ate, but then the opposite's also true. Mommy, I'm full. Daddy, I'm full. Finish your plate. It's like, what are we to think as children when we're told when and how much to eat, regardless of if our stomach is full? or our stomach is empty, you know, so we learn to shut those off. And then I think as adults, we continue to foster it by, like you said, just we're too busy to eat. We'll just take bites or sips, you know, in between things. So yes, those hunger signals coming back is a good sign as well.
My goodness.
And I don't think that happened to you. I think it happened for you. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Really beautiful gift. Good work.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. Anybody else want to share?
I'll go if you can hear me okay.
Hey, hi, I can hear you. You're good.
Hello. Okay. Sorry, I'm driving. Just a couple things, but I had a dumpster delivered, and so we really like cleaned out our house, and that felt amazing because it was a long time overdue.
Love it.
But I would say my wins have been my skin doesn't seem to be as dry. I've always had really dry skin on especially my face,
Mhm.
and it doesn't seem nearly as dry. My bowel movements seem much healthier. And I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroid disease. And during the day, like around 3 and 4, I feel like I always crash, like brain fog, like kind of nauseous, like every single day, but it hasn't the last, 2 weeks, I haven't really been feeling that way. So I'm hoping that it's just, has helped with everything internally. So
Yeah. I love it. So good. Good job, Cherish. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Also, guys, pay attention to skin. What she just brought up, this is so powerful. Your skin, your hair, and your nails are like the screens of your computer. They're just showing what's going on inside, right? So if those are healthy, if your hair is strong and shiny and not dry, not greasy, like healthy, if your skin is same thing, glowing, healthy, smooth, not red, not bumpy, not dry, not oily, if your nails are strong and no ridges or brittle splitting, things like that, this is a really good sign that you're getting somewhere. So excellent. Pay attention to these things. These little wins are big wins. Good work. Anybody else? And I love it when you share these too, because as one person shares something, someone else is automatically going, oh yeah, I never thought about that. That's happened for me too. So good. And if you have missed some of these, add these to your victory list. These are good things to rehearse at night. Instead of rehearsing all the things you could have done, go over and over and over in your head how much you're improving. Love it. Any other wins? Okay. All right, so for the sake of our accountability, let's do a little quick grade for yourself. How are you doing keeping up with the 6 things? So remember the liver sauce, the ultra binder, the skin brushing, the tongue scraping, the water, and the upgrades, the upgrade assignments. So give yourself a grade. So like, for example, if you did good on everything, but you got about 50% of your water, you might give yourself like a 5.5 out of 6. These are not exact, but if you could just type in the chat roughly, if you're like, shoot, I totally forgot about skin brushing. Just give me a rough idea out of 6. 6 is like I did everything 100%. And we can split hairs. So if you want to give yourself a 5.2, just go ahead and type in the chat approximate number so I have some idea of how we're doing. Keep going, keep going. Cherish, if you're driving, you can ignore. I don't want to cause any problems. There we go. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, the meditation. Yeah, thanks for that, Jen. If you guys, this is a good time too, where if you have questions, the thing that I always want to talk about is just like wherever you're at, how do you get to the next step? If you're at 2, how do you get to 2.5? If you're at 5, how do you get to 5.5? Just getting the next thing in. Yes, meditation is new for a lot of people. I recommend, just like we kind of regiment the like get up in the morning, take your detox stuff. You can squeeze in a 7-minute meditation anywhere, but I do recommend doing it always at the same time if you can. Don't stress. If your intention is to do it in the morning and the morning blows up and you can do it later, awesome, still counts. But if you can do it at the same time every day, then that routine typically helps people. Yep. Yeah, and Mike, the water. I know several of you have a hard time. And this, I'm going to say the same thing with the water. So think about it like this. If you're supposed to have, I know everybody's different because everybody's weight is different, but if you're supposed to have 150 ounces of water, and you're currently getting 100, then get really laser like focused about how can I get 120? Just start by jumping it up a little bit. Like, oh, instead of doing 2 cups of water in my protein shake, I could do 3 cups, or whatever. Like, squeeze it into something you're already doing. Hopefully you guys are all doing a lot of water first thing in the morning. You should probably be doing between 25 and 40 ounces, depending on how much you weigh. You want to get at least a quarter of your water in, like the minute you get out of bed in the morning. So if you're not doing that, for sure, start there. If you are doing that, increase that a little bit. I've said this before, but my clients who do well with water, including myself, they're always the ones that start early in the morning. If you're like, oh shoot, it's 10 a.m., I'll go get a cup. It's like, it's really hard to catch up at that point. Yeah, go ahead.
Just ask about that. So like, while we're taking these supplements, do we wait until after the binder, after that 30 minutes and then start drinking? Because that's what I've been doing. Can I drink water during the
yes, yep, you can drink as much water as you want with the binder. You can drink with the liver sauce. You can drink between them. As long as it's just water, no problem.
Oh, okay, because I've been waiting and I've been thirsty and I'm like, okay, I just gotta wait. So okay, thank you.
You can do it. Yeah, no, you're good. All right. Yeah, so but always on the calls and in between calls, if you guys have questions or you're like, hey, I'm stuck on this, don't be stuck on anything all week long. If 3 days in you haven't done one meditation, just reach out. You guys, I've got you, but also you've seen the couple few of you who've used the chat, the group, we all have each other too. It's an amazing group. If you just post, guys, it's killing me, I'm just struggling so much getting this water in or getting these meditations in, what's working for you? There's no doubt somebody who's really good at doing what you're really struggling with, and vice versa, right? Some people don't struggle with getting the water in at all. For some people, it's more the the meditation. For some people, I know some of you have told me you just totally flaked on the skin brushing. You just didn't even think about it. Like, shoot, I got in the shower again. Or you think about it as soon as you get in the shower and you're soaking wet, and then you're like, shoot, okay, next time. So don't be afraid to reach out. All right, so let's do a quick home upgrade assignment review. So your fasting hours, how did we do sticking to whatever you committed to? I know everybody committed to a little bit different, somewhere between 12 and 16 hours. Any questions or challenges with this, or was this not too bad, not a major issue? I know sometimes there's like, especially the first few days, there's like, oh my gosh, I just kept forgetting because it was a habit to just eat every night at this time. Anybody have that? Yeah, a couple times.
Yeah, I actually found like, so we definitely like snack at night, and I wasn't even aware of it because we'd have dinner and you should be full from dinner, but then like an hour, or even a half hour,
Yeah,
there'd be a snack. So I didn't even realize that, but I did keep to the 7. In fact, Matt is the cook in the family, so I'd be like, I have to finish eating at 7. Like at 7, I have to stop. So I've adjusted for the 7 o'clock, but I'm going longer. My body naturally does that, like anyway, but I'm noticing like I'm going longer, but the water also fills me up too. So I think I'm really only eating 2 meals a day because the water, and I'm trying to do like just plain water, like green smoothies, like the greens powder with water. I've been like juicing like pineapple, coconut water and cucumber. Like I'm trying to do a couple different things because just the plain water, or I add salt to the water too.
Mhm.
The plain water is hard for me, but if I mix it up like that, then I can get all the ounces in.
Yeah, good.
But yeah, so I noticed for me, I can go longer, but I'm not as hungry.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's good or
Yeah,
bad.
no, well, it's good too. And I like that you brought this up because eating does become just a habit sometimes. You're like, what the heck am I doing? I'm not even hungry. But it's like, well, we always eat after, we always go grab XYZ at this time, so yeah, and it'll be very interesting. Did anybody notice improvements in sleep in the last week since doing this? Just yes, no, not so much. No, okay. Maybe, and it doesn't happen overnight. So I know some of you are like, yes, for one night, but not the other night. But then I was traveling, but that, so sometimes it's hard to tell. But yeah, typically you sleep a lot better when you don't eat at night. And yes, for sure, if you do a ton of water in the morning, that kind of serves as breakfast. Now, the point isn't necessarily calorie restriction. Sometimes that happens by default. You just end up not eating during that nighttime snack, that saves you anywhere from 200 to 1,000 calories, depending on what your nighttime snack is, or your nighttime beverage. But this is something to be really aware of because, that habit of getting up and drinking a ton of water, and yes, putting a little pink salt in, especially if it kind of like, sometimes people doing a lot of water on an empty stomach, like almost bothers the stomach. Typically as the liver gets more clean, that improves. But definitely a little pink salt can be helpful. Excellent. Any other questions about the fasting? Okay, cool. So the clear intention, type it in the chat, please. Type it in the chat. This should be no more than 4 words, very simple. You will need this in a few minutes. So this should be right at top of mind. So remember again, we want the positive frame. So instead of lose weight, we might say improve body fat percentage, something like that. Any questions on these? Yes, type in the chat what your clear intention is. If you didn't do your homework, I'll give you a quick review. This is just some positive thing you want to focus on for the rest of this time, the next couple of weeks. A lot of people chose health things, but it could be, there were a couple that like, I want to be more patient and loving as a mom or a wife or a dad, or something like that is fine because, we talked a little bit last week, or maybe it was the first week anyway, about how there's an emotional connection with the liver and anger, for example. So being more patient is a natural sort of byproduct, if you will, of things like this. Good. Yeah, peach. Yeah, good. Yeah, and Jen, that's a powerful one. You're not ducking out on that one. Letting go of hard feelings. Yeah. Reduce body fat. I love it. Good. Getting my water is easy. I love that positive frame. And guys, by the way, these are gifts to yourself. So really start to think of it not as something you're giving up or sacrificing, but more like an act of self-love. And all the implications that come from that, really powerful. Good, Ken, I love this. Improving muscle mass and patience. Very good. We have a few people who have not posted yet. Come on, come on. Yeah. Cherish, this is good. Kind of picking your battles, letting the small stuff go. Um, yep. Yay, good. Oh, yeah. Valerie was driving. And she felt better on the first 2 days of her cycle. That's excellent. Being more patient, improving body fat. Okay, cool. 7 minutes of meditation. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because we're going to talk about it again in a few minutes. But the big thing with meditation, if you're new to meditation, there's 1,000 ways to do it. This is just one way. Just don't overthink it. If you're already doing a meditation practice, then this will not be difficult for you. If this is brand new, just don't overthink it. If you're like, oh, why am I all of a sudden thinking about the laundry? Or why am I all of a sudden thinking about how I'm going to pay that bill? Just come back to that powerful emotion. Just keep coming back, and you might have to come back 20 times an hour. That's fine. Um, unfinished projects. Now remember, this again was not just a to-do list. This was those projects, those things that kind of overwhelm you that you keep putting off. But they are taking up your energy, right? Not necessarily time because you're not doing them, but they're in the back of your head, or they're like the monkey on your back all the time. Um, Anybody have questions about this or want to share anything that came out of that?
I did just a couple little things right off the bat. One was write a couple letters that I've been intending to do. One was just do something with a piece of mending I needed to do. And one is still on my list because I need to go to the store and get some snaps
Something to do it.
to do another project. And so, yeah, it wasn't big things, but it was little things that just kept being on my list.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. And that the energy that gets freed up when you just send that letter, boom, done. That is off my list forever.
Yeah.
Never have to send that letter again. Of course, you might think of another one that you want to send. But as far as the like, I had to go get something to do it, this is what I'm saying. If it's a multi-step process, figuring out what I need, going to get what I need, breaking it down into steps is part of this battle plan. So good. Valerie did a budget for April. Yay, good. Yeah, and even if whether your finances whether you're in an excellent place, you just got a raise and your house is paid off, or whether you're in kind of a like little bit of a scary place, and things are not going well, doing a budget is a point of personal power. It frees up energy in your head. Now you're dealing with facts, right? Oh yes, finishing taxes. Excellent. Cherish the fertility coaching. I love that. Yeah, and it's like that the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, right? So yeah, and hanging pictures. This is another thing. Why buying art is easy. Getting it on the wall for some reason takes a long time. So good. Again, guys, I just want to remind you, this is not like a clean up your house program, but the place you spend a lot of time, or the places you spend a lot of time, do impact your energy. So I think this is amazing. Good work.
I'm doing something with the spaces I've cleaned up, and that is once a week I go around and make sure they're still clean.
Love it.
I just peek at them to make sure I haven't started trashing them again.
You're like, stay.
That's right.
Stay. Be good. All right, good. Okay, you guys are crushing it. So what I want to talk about tonight, one of my super favorite things to talk about, and some of you are familiar with this, but I think there will be some new things here. I want to talk about the placebo effect. And because when you understand how powerful your mind is, you can get it working for you. So most of us are familiar with the placebo effect, which is this idea that if you think something is going to work, it's more likely to work, or it will work better. So one of the examples, by the way, there's a book. I don't have it with me tonight because I'm traveling, but there's a book called You Are the Placebo by one of my mentors, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Really, really good book about mindset and how this whole thing works. So a couple of examples. We have maids in a hotel. This is a real story. So this guy who was an investigator, investigator is what they call people who run research projects. He traveled a lot and he was in this hotel. I don't remember where this took place. But he realized that these maids, you know, that were like cleaning the hotel, were very like active and busy, and you know, they're flipping mattresses and moving furniture. I know not all hotels clean like that, but in this particular one. And so long story short, he created this amazing study. They took half the maids, and they did a short class and explained to them, like, did you guys know that the amount of activity that you're doing is what is agreed upon in science as what people need to like live a healthy long life and have maintain their healthy body weight and things like that. And then the other group, they did not get this talk. So there's two sets of maids. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna get the gist of it, but I don't remember if it was like 50 in each group, but it was a pretty significant study. So it wasn't like 5 in each group. I think it was 50. It might have been more, but anyway. So the group of maids who got the talking to, who got the education about what they were doing, they did this, it was like 6 weeks. They just did their job like normal. And then the other group, 6 weeks, did their job like normal. At the end of this study, they came back and they did like they did a ton of metrics. So they did like they took blood pressure, they did weight, and I think they did measurements as well, body fat. And of course, the group who got the education, who were told, hey, you guys are actually exercising, they're like, oh, you know, they lost more weight, their blood pressure went down, they experienced more benefits than the group who didn't. That's the placebo effect at its finest, right? Another example, you take somebody and throw them in ice cold water, like let's say it's like 33 degrees, just above freezing. Within a couple minutes, hypothermia sets in. You take these same group of people, and before you put them in that water, you tell them all the benefits of getting cold, like cryotherapy, right? You're probably familiar with this. If you're not, look up Wim Hof. I'll put this in here. Wim Hof. He has a website. He has several books. He's called the Iceman. He's insane and amazing. And they've done a lot of research on this guy. But anyway, he's like the king of cold therapy. But you take these same people and you educate them about how cold therapy improves anxiety and depression, helps reduce body fat, improves sexual function, increases energy, helps with sleep issues. You spend a few minutes telling somebody that. You put those same people in the cold water and they actually have health benefits. So rather than hypothermia, their blood pressure is going down, their, you know, sex drive is going up, they're starting to sleep better, they're, you know, what's going on there? Again, placebo effect at its finest. One that I'm really passionate about, that I personally think should be criminal: doctor tells a patient they have 6 months to live. I don't think that's right. There's a lot of reasons. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. Doctor's not God, but here's what happens. That implants something into that person's heart and mind. I've seen this before. You've probably read about these kind of things where patients told they have 6 months to live. They die at 6 months and a day, only to find out through autopsy they never had cancer to begin with. What is going on? Also placebo effect at its finest, right? So the lesson here is twofold. Number one, watch be very careful who you're letting speak into your ear gates and eye gates, right? What are you seeing? What are you letting in? Who has voice in your life? I understand sometimes there's things we need to hear that we can't help but hear. You know, your spouse is addicted to the TV, your boss talks a certain way. You know, there are some things that are out of our control, but you can control what you're watching on TV, if anything, what you're listening to and letting in. And you know, so that's number one. What, you know, be careful what you're letting in. But then of course the other thing is nobody's talking to you more than you, right? I've got you an hour and a half a week. Even the people, your spouse, your kids, your coworkers that you spend a lot of time with, you're still talking to yourself 10 times as much as they're talking to you. So the message, this is why when we do our clear intentions, that we're not giving ourselves negative messages like, I need to lose my weight. It's not your weight. It's not your cancer. It's not your heart disease. It's not your blood pressure, right? As I always say, we can send all that back where it came from. This is where, like, we have to start giving ourselves these messages, these positive messages, and sort of drinking our own Kool-Aid, right? So I think it's really amazing to read books, listen to podcasts, listen to documentaries that support this, like, you can heal no matter what, your body is a healing machine, here's this way to heal, and here's that way to heal, and here's how your mind helps you heal, and here's how food helps you heal, and here's how cold water helps you heal, and here's how meditation works, and here, you know, all of these things, because it's like you're like sort of flushing out your mind with these positive messages. Talk to me about this. Any thoughts, questions, places where you've seen this flesh out?
Yeah, I'll go. So, one of the things that hits me when I hear this is, I think one of the things that's hard about this teaching is that it forces you to actually come to terms with the idea that every single thing that happens in your life is in part your fault, our fault. It means our mind creates a lot of the stuff we don't want. And I think that's an uncomfortable thought to dance with the fact that that my mind is creating my reality. It's kind of the person that stands at the free throw line and says don't miss is like 10 times or 15 times more likely to miss. So I think if we think it's going to, it does. If we think it's not going to, it probably won't. And so so anyway, I think that I think this is a tough truth to dance with, because it places all of it right at our feet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but it also, with placing it at our feet, it also places 100% of the hope at our feet.
Yeah.
Agree, disagree?
I think one thing Mike said was, darn it, I just lost it. You want to give that speech again?
Okay, so while she's thinking, anybody else agree with him, disagree with him? Do you love this thought? Do you kind of like, is this kind of like, I don't really want to hear this? Where are we at?
No, I agree with Mike. I think he's dead on. I think we can make or break our reality. And I think a lot of things we bring from our childhood, for some reason, I don't know why, even when we're older, we still can go back that far and it can affect our today. And then just trying to, you know, be like, no, that's not you now. Like that, it's over. Yeah. So I agree.
Yeah, and this
Yeah,
is
I agree as well. Sorry, Dr. Name. I can't remember the full quote, but it had something to do with too, go along the lines of like, our minds can either create our own heaven or our own hell. So it's one of those things where we can either be trapped in our own heads, where we can get in our own way, or create our own, better future. So
yeah, I love it. That's a great quote. And what do you guys think is what makes us go one way or the other? how do we make sure that we're creating heaven? We're
I
creating.
think part of it's habit, and we drag our normalcy, that where our brain and heart connects all the things we've done before in the past. So there has to be a level of creativity in our minds to think about what would it be like if I did this, or what would it be like if I was a different person. Or it's hard sometimes to manifest that in our minds, the newness.
I think one thing as well is that we, I think it really, I don't know that we believe it. I don't know that we buy it. And here's what I mean by that. I don't know that we actually think that our thoughts are generators. And if we did, we wouldn't think some of the things and say some of the things we do, because we don't want the reality of the thoughts that sometimes we entertain. And so I think it starts with an entire we have to actually adopt this. I think
Yeah.
if we knew it was true that our thoughts create our reality, which there is so much data to prove that it would take you a lifetime to go through all the data that actually prove that's true, then I think we'd be a whole heck of a lot more careful on what we think and say. I think
I
we have a
know,
gatekeeper that was a lot stronger than we do.
I know what I started to say before was what Mike said about don't miss the ball or something like that. If we keep remembering that our brain does not process negatives, so when you say don't spill the milk, don't miss the ball, your brain hears miss the ball.
Mhm.
It doesn't hear the negative.
Mhm.
Am I right that way?
Mhm.
And so most of those things that have created what we don't want is because of the way we put it out there. Like you're teaching us to think of it as a newness in our habit or in our health or in our skin, and to say it, not to get rid of what we don't want, but to see it as on the other end. And our culture doesn't do that. We have to work at that. That is an education and a habit that we have to foster.
Mhm.
One more thought and then I'll stop. I also think that when I hear this truth, my mind automatically goes to the negative. Oh, that means every bad thing in my life I'm creating. But what often I'll speak for me, I don't stop and think about is that actually, if this is true, which again, data is there to prove it, that truly means I can create anything I want.
Yeah.
I literally can create anything I want. If this is true, if it's true to the negative, it has to be true to the positive. That means literally there is no limit. Like I can create anything, which that I think is where the beauty lies. I don't know. For me, it does anyway.
Yeah, I love this. We're going deep. We're going really deep down the rabbit hole of personal responsibility, right? I'm going to put this quote in the chat that I love. Tim Ferriss, he has a really good personal development podcast. How are you complicit in creating the life you say you don't want? Right? That's really what we're talking about here. Like you say, you hate being tired all the time. But if you stay up late watching movies and eating chips or whatever your vice of the day is, or for more of us, it's on our phones, or maybe it's social media, or maybe it's just this bad habit of eating dinner at 8 o'clock at night because you're too busy. I told a client recently, he's actually in ministry, he's a pastor, and he was telling me like everything we talked about, he didn't have time. He's like, I'm just so busy. And I'm like, hey, bro, here's the thing. If you don't have time to meditate for 7 minutes, you're right. You're too busy. So you got to cut something out. Right. I mean, your life and all the things you're doing to pour into other people, if you don't fill the tank, if you don't have 7 minutes to fill the tank, you're going down. Right? So let's prevent that rather than waiting for the bomb to drop, you know? Really good discussion. Any other comments on this? The natural follow-up question, and I kind of asked this after what Ken said, that I want to come back to though, is how do we create heaven instead of hell? How do we use our minds? What do we need to do if we are able to go both ways on that? What can we do to make sure we're leaning in the right direction? Or what can we stop doing?
I think a lot of that might go back to what Mike was saying too, is just like start reframing how we're having those internal thoughts. Instead of doing the negatives, start doing the positives, like, you know, I am going to improve here. And this is what's going to happen when I do this, and how it's going to improve. And kind of go through those measures, or even meditating on, you know, what your body's going to look like when you're done doing the detox, or, you know, what are all the good foods you're doing to your body as you're eating them.
Yes,
So,
I love that. I love that. Yeah, it is. It is totally, and even before we can reframe our thoughts, we have to become aware of them. We have to become conscious of that, like, oh yeah, I do have this belief that weight loss is hard, or that building muscle is hard. As long as you believe that, it's gonna haunt you essentially. Now I'm not saying everything's easy. This is not about like pie in the sky, Pollyanna, like everything is easy. It doesn't matter if my, I lost my job and I can't feed my kids and my, family dies. I'm like, that's not what I'm talking about. But when you start knowing that no matter what comes at you is a gift and it's happening for you, not to you, and you can start, then you can start reframing those thoughts into more empowering pathways for growth. Excellent. Any other comments? Anything to share before we?
One of those with my upgrade of going plant-based, one of those beliefs I had to get over, or I'm getting over, is that it's hard to build muscle on a plant-based diet. That's one of those things that I've you hear all over the place. And so that's one thing that I am I don't say wrestling. I know that it's garbage, but I still entertain it, all of the other voices. So even that, in a powerful move, can still have with it negative beliefs that sabotage that very decision, honestly. Right. So, I'm going plant-based for the first time and blah, blah, blah. And muscle on a plant-based diet, and then it sabotages the whole thing.
Yeah, this is a great example because there's voices on both sides of that fence, right? And if the voice you're listening to is the one saying that, that's probably what you're going to internalize, right, Mike, and believe. And everybody, if the voice you're listening to is like, when you hear that, if you're like, nope, not going there, and you start following people who have proven that wrong. I have, by the way, in case anyone has any doubts, I haven't had animal products in over a decade. My muscle's higher than it's ever been. So it is totally possible. But this is a great example of what we were talking about before. Who are you listening to? Right? And you start to learn who you can talk to about these things and who you're just like, just don't even go there. Right? But I think it's also really important as you become aware or conscious of these thoughts to go, wait a minute, why do I think that? Where did that come from? Is that a popular Facebook meme, or is that research? Like a lot of times we do have these like crazy, deeply ingrained thoughts. Milk, it does the body good, right? Where does that come from? That comes from a marketing company from the American Dairy Council. Research is clear, right? The countries that have the lowest amount of dairy have improved like the highest bone density scores. They don't talk about that in the marketing companies, right? They're just trying to sell products, which is fine. But we just need to be wise enough to go, wait a minute, is that propaganda or is that evidence-based?
You know, another thing with the negativeness is I think we've all been around somebody who is just constantly creating negative drama. And you get to a point, you know, they go, oh, woe is me. Well, this is happening this week. You know, when's the next shoe going to drop? All of that. And you have acquaintances like that. And after a while, you kind of just don't want to be around them.
Mhm.
And that's just another reason not to go there. You don't want to be someone that people don't want to be around.
Mm. Yeah, and that's good too that you consider like, I don't want to be that person. Like it's easy to point the finger at other people, but you're like, I want to make sure I'm checking myself. So
Yeah,
I'm not the friend that everyone's like, oh, don't call her. She'll just tell you all the reasons why it'll never work, you know?
yeah,
But guys, listen, I mean, we're talking about cleaning out our environment. This does not just include your house. This is why, you know, Mike brought up right at the beginning, you know, stop following certain channels on Instagram that are, you know, full of junk food. You know, if you have friends that you can't hardly contact without it's if all your time with that friend is like eating junk food, worshiping junk food. I mean, and I'm not saying this to be mean, but some people like it's what they live for, you know? And this doesn't mean you have to throw people away. People are not like holy socks in your sock drawer, you know, like that's easy to clean out. But
yeah,
yes, you may distance yourself, maybe physically, or maybe just kind of energetically. Like if they reach out to you, okay, but maybe you're not going to reach out to them as much, you know? Or you know, to me, I like to look at it in terms of upgrades. Instead of throwing someone else out, just fill your life with the positive people. Just really fill up on the positive people. And then it's like, oh, sorry, I would love to maybe some other time, but I've already got plans, you know? And a lot of times those relationships just go away because if somebody's super negative, they don't want to be with you very long if you're just always looking on the bright side. They get irritated with it, sadly.
I think that another way that we can change, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, it's just so loud. That we can change the negative belief cycle is you have to get radically honest with yourself. So if you've had a goal that you've written down and you've worked on it in terms of like, here's what I need to do it, and 3 months later, you're no closer. Like we have to reconcile with the fact that we probably really don't want that thing.
Mm.
Or, I mean, maybe there's just a stage of life where other things have had to take precedence because you're managing a particular crisis or whatever. But I think more often it's we want that thing. We want the idea of that thing. We think it's what we should want. We don't really want to do the work to achieve that thing. And so it takes some radical self-honesty to really implant what you do want because you have to know what you really want.
Mhm. Yeah, this
that's
is the yeah, it's the idea of competing desires, right? You do want this, but you want something else more. The thing you want the most is always what you're going to go after. So, yes, it's a good point. And you know what? There's times too where let yourself off the hook. Don't expect yourself to get somewhere in an area that you're not willing to work, or maybe it's just doesn't fit your priorities at this moment, right? Some of you have different goals. Some of you are trying to bail out of a pain or an illness or a disease situation. Some of you are trying to get chiseled, right? Like shredded, ripped. Some of you may be trying to do both. We're probably all trying to do both to some degree. But there are times where you're like, you know what? This weekend, I have let things go. I need to really, this needs to be a weekend devoted to my health, my rest, my recovery, my fitness, my nutrition. And there might be other weekends where you're like, my son's getting married this weekend. None of that matters, right? All that matters is, you know, him having an amazing weekend And, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's okay to recognize competing desires are normal and natural, but it's like, what does it look like to fit in the things that we need to fit in? You know, the regular things. Good. Any other comments on this?
I heard a speaker. I heard Larry Wingett. He's kind of kind of an edgy speaker. If you've ever read some of his book titles, but Larry Wingett one time was speaking and he asked the audience, how many of you want to be more successful? Of course, everybody raises their hand, and then he stops them and say, "No, what's actually true is you want exactly the life you have right now, because we operate on desire. We don't have the ability to divorce desire from action. That's not in our DNA. And so if what's hard is to come to terms with everything I hate, I want, or else I wouldn't have it, or else my desires wouldn't be driving the actions that create the thing that I don't like. And it gives me something, some sort of whatever it is. But that quote has always stuck with me, that we actually currently have the life we want, because it's the action and of course there's things that come into our life outside of us, but from the decisions internally.
Yeah, it's
Mike,
dropping the bomb.
do you think sometimes because we live in this quote unquote normal situation and the people around us that we've gathered in our sphere live similarly, that there's a point where you need to spend some time with somebody who lives differently to realize and think about how and what you want to change? Does that make any sense or no? I don't know. Because I just feel like sometimes my ability to think about
Yes.
what it would look, how it would look like is I don't know.
Yeah, you're limited to the environment you're in. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. So in order to even see what's possible, to even know that driving a Ferrari is possible, is you got to get around people that drive Ferraris and make it look like they went and bought a Toyota Corolla.
Yeah.
Right. And so like totally, I totally get what you're saying. So yeah, I think so. I mean, but for me, my old self often still yanks me back, but yes, 100%.
Or sometimes just a different environment when you walk into somebody else's house and there's no clutter. There's nothing on the counters. There's, everything's organized and you just go home and want to start changing your counters sometimes.
Yeah, it's good. And that starts with that awareness too, right? You walk in and right away you gotta see it. But yeah, he's absolutely right. If you want to be around people, or if you want to have wealth, you need to spend time with wealthy people. If you want to have a better relationship with God, you need to spend time with people that have a better relationship with God. If you want to merge those two and find people who are really wealthy and use it for God, you need to find those people and spend time with them. If you want to have health, you need to spend time with people who have the health that you're looking for. And again, I'm not talking about health. I feel like in our culture, health, people think they can purchase health.
Yes.
In a day where people are like diet pills, fake hair, fake eyelashes, fake lips, breast implants, testosterone, what do you call it? Steroids. Like this isn't health, right?
Right.
Health is like big picture, like energy, high functioning, good sleep at night, not just tiny waist and big muscles, or however you want to say that. So, but yes, finding some models, and these models, by the way, certainly they can be people, friends and family that you have that maybe they don't model everything for you, but you have someone in your life who's like, man, they are a really creative parent. Okay.
Yeah.
Some of those. You have somebody who's like, man, they are really disciplined about keeping their space clean, or whatever. But finding those models local in your sphere of influence is great, but you also can do that through books and podcasts and, you know, things like this. You guys are all providing this for each other. You got lots of voices here.
Yeah.
So yeah, good point.
One thing that helped me too was the meditation. All those things are good, but I think also that where we, you know, talk about submersing yourself, like don't worry about how you got to that, but just immerse yourself in those feelings that you're meditating on. And I think that's really helpful. And that, you know, the more you meditate, you just start taking those feelings on. And I found that as I was going in the meditations, I was able to start picturing new levels that I couldn't before. Like new things were coming in that I was like, oh, okay, like I want to be able to find a way to get to that. And it was just new things I was able to visualize. So I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Christy, because this part of why we do these meditations is you say joy is your favorite feeling. Let's practice feeling joy then. Or peace is your favorite feeling, but you spend 23 hours a day feeling chaos, or maybe more than 23 hours a day. And so it's like that is the idea. Clean out the environment in your headspace.
You know, Dr. Leanne, freedom was mine. And so this sounds crazy, but that's why I took a nap. I just decided that was my freedom for the day.
Yeah.
Because I felt I needed it.
Yep.
It comes in all different ways and spaces and
yeah, totally. Freedom isn't just do I have to go to work or not? Sometimes it's like, do I feel empowered to do what I need to do for myself?
Yeah.
I love it. All right.
And you yourself too, Dawn. That's the thing too. You listened and you did that action and didn't through. So that's huge too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
because I haven't always done that.
well, and there are seasons of life where that is harder, you know.
Yeah.
For some of you that have little kids, or or I don't know, is it worse, little kids or is it teenagers? You know, I don't know, but or if you're on a career path where you travel all the time, there are seasons of life, but this is where in each season it's like, just because hard is just hard, it's not bad. So, okay, what does it look like during this season? You know, what does it look like when you're in a season of life where you're traveling a lot, or in a season of life where you're working a lot, or in a season of life where your kids are driving you crazy, but you don't want to lose your mind? You know, fitting in these habits. And this is why it's so important that they become habits, because eventually, I know some of you have this down, some of you are about to have this down. By the end of this, drinking water won't be something you think about. It'll just be something you do. You don't think about brushing your teeth, right? I think most of us brush our teeth a couple times a day, and you're not like, I don't feel like brushing my teeth. You just go brush your teeth. There's no drama around it because you've been conditioned that brushing your teeth is worthwhile. Okay, let's do a little quick review of the new latest and greatest upgrades. So the theme is be unreasonable. Reasonable people get reasonable results. If you want unreasonable results like no other, then you need to be unreasonable. So this week I think is not too bad. So there's a little wiggle room for catching up if you need to do some catching up. We're going to continue the 7-minute meditation, only this time we're going to take your clear intention and your elevated emotion and merge them. Okay, so you're doing exactly what you were doing before. You're thinking, you're feeling that emotion, you're feeling it, and then you're merging it with your clear intention. So how would I have this overwhelming amount of peace if my body fat were healthy? I've got peace in my body fat and peace in my body fat, my peace and my healthy body fat, and I've got peace in my healthy body fat, and you're just rehearsing and rehearsing and rehearsing. Again, like Christy alluded to, don't worry about how you get there. That's not your business, right? Your business during this 7 minutes is just get there with this emotion and get there with this emotion. Okay, don't overthink it. If you're not sure if you're doing it right, you probably are. So just keep going, keep focusing on those two things. We'll do a little practice round in a minute. Move your body least 20 minutes 3 times a day or 3 times a week. If you're already doing this, then you don't necessarily have to add to it. But here's the catch that I really want everyone to do: at least once, do something different. If you typically run, then lift weights. If all you do is lift weights, go for a hike. If all you do is yoga, take a Zumba class or a spinning class or whatever. At least one thing, do one thing different. Number 3, it's not as bad as it looks, but there's a few parts. So we're going to talk about stressors. Number 1, make a list of your top 10 stressors, big or small. We all have these. Some of them, they can be little annoying things like, well, I'll leave your examples to they can be little annoying things. Like somebody who's always late to the carpool by 5 minutes, not enough to make a huge scene, but just enough to cause a little stress. Or they can be really big things, like if you're caregiving for some elderly person in your life and it's extremely stressful, and maybe it's one of your parents or grandparents and you love them, but it's like a huge stress in your life. Maybe you have a job that you hate. Maybe you have a child who's having some issues and it's a big stress. This is not bad. There's no judgment. Just record them, 10 of them. If there's more that come to your head, you can do more, but try to get at least 10. Choose the top 3, and for each one of those 3, list at least 3 things you could do to eliminate or reduce that stressor. Okay. They don't have to be things you're going to do right away. Just brainstorm. We're just getting 3 things under each one. Make another list of at least 5 things that consistently work to reduce your stress. Okay. And make at least a couple of them small things. So if one of them is like go on vacation, great. But make at least a couple of them things you can do anywhere in a few minutes. So an example of a big thing would be go on vacation. An example of a small thing that almost always helps to reduce my stress would be like 60 seconds of deep breathing, right? Something just simple, easy. You could do it anywhere. And then circle one of those things that is low-hanging fruit and commit to it for the next 7 days. So, and then post it in the group. So we've got some accountability. So again, circle. So, maybe it's, like I said, maybe it's, I'm going to do 60 seconds of deep breathing once per day or a couple times a day, or however you want to do that for the next week. Now, guys, really remember, most people get the biggest wins in the second half of this month, of this detox. So you still have lots of time, whether you have crushed it and given yourself a 5 something out of 6, or whether you are really struggling and you're giving yourself a 2 or a 3, wherever you're at on that, you still have a lot of time. Okay. Crank it up a notch. Start with the low hanging fruit, lots of water in the morning, do the skin brushing, do the tongue scraping, get your habits in order. Don't get overwhelmed and don't struggle alone. If you have questions or you're struggling, please, please, please do not hesitate to reach out. And I listed here, just in case you are a checklist lover. Do we have a few checklist lovers? Most of you, I think I know who you are. Yep. The first few are your non-negotiables: your water, your liver sauce, your ultra binder, your tongue scraping, and then your skin brushing. But then exercise, bedtime, green smoothie. These are some bonuses if you want. And you can change them or adjust them so you have some of your own. But these are just some ideas of things to keep you going. Also, I actually didn't end up talking about this one. 2 books. The one I talked about, You Are the Placebo by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Also, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. This book, this guy, Robert Sapolsky, he's like a very brilliant researcher, but one of those that can actually talk to regular humans. He's hilarious. And if you're one of those people, like so many, that are like, oh yeah, I know stress is an issue, but it's not that big of a deal. This is a really good book to help build your belief in why you need to reduce stress in your life. It's kind of like the Bible of stress. He talks about how stress hinders your energy, your sleep, your digestion, your ability to lose weight, your longevity, your hormones. Like he basically covers, there's like a chapter on pretty much every body system. Really entertaining as well. He's really funny. And then last week's homework, just in case you missed anything. Everything is in the chat as well on the WhatsApp group. So if you're like, I want to look at the first week, that's in there. If you can't find it, of course, don't hesitate to let us know and we can share that again. Christy, can you go ahead and share that PDF in the chat as well as the WhatsApp group? So that will be available momentarily. Before we go into our brief meditation, any questions? All right, clear your head, clear your space. Take a deep breath, relax your shoulders. All right, close your eyes. If there's any tension in your body, take a deep breath in and kind of breathe into that spot and hold it for a couple of seconds. Hold it, hold it, hold it. And let it out slowly. Let it all the way out. Push all the air out and then deep breath in again. Hold it. And let it out slowly. Relax your jaw, relax your back, your hips, your neck and shoulders. Keep breathing normally and comfortably. There's a lot of time left to get profound results. You're safe. You're extremely powerful. Now, I'd like for you to get that favorite feeling that you love to feel. You've been hopefully working with this. So it might be joy, it might be peace. For some of you, it's contentment. For some of you, it's freedom. Now feel that. You don't have to understand why you feel it, just feel it. Let it wash over you. Let yourself feel good about having this feeling. Don't resist it. Know that there's nowhere to go. Nothing to do, just sit in this. Now keep breathing in a very calm, peaceful way. Recall in your mind your clear intention. Whether it's to reduce your body fat, to build muscle, to have more peace in your life, to have more patience with your family, clear intention, and that favorite feeling. Clear intention, favorite feeling. You don't have to understand how they connect. Just keep going back and forth. And oftentimes after a while of doing this, they just start to merge. And that's fine. That's actually amazing. So if you start feeling like, I can't tell which one I'm on, that's cool. If you can tell exactly which one you're on, that's great too. Clear intention, favorite emotion. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Deep breath in one more time. Hold it. Hold it. And exhale. Beautiful. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. So that wasn't quite 7 minutes, but that's a little sampling of what this could feel like. If you want, you can always use this recording to go back and kind of get you started. But don't overthink it. Really simple. As always, you guys are crushing it. I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you. This is just the beginning. You're all making amazing strides, and I'm not surprised, but I still love hearing about it. So if you have wins throughout the week, you don't have to wait. If you have questions throughout the week, you don't have to wait. So throw those in the group, and have a beautiful night. Hopefully you can slip off into sleepy land, and let us know if you need anything. Good night.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night,
Night.
Jen.
Night, Tom.